Hey, what a flippity flop though! This is Stranger or Big Moose! And we are live with Faultarian Journal number 4. This is our 4th one. 4 weeks in a row now. I am mind blown because it's been fun. It's been fun. We've seen a bit of growth. It's just been super fantastic. So, Stephen Chandler, as always, please introduce yourselves.
Yo, my name is Steven. SA Reed in the chat, and I'm the best crunch main you'll ever see.
Topics every week now. We're getting it broken into Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. So if for some reason you don't like a certain topic, you can always just pop on in later and talk about it. Act 1, it's always just me, Stephen Chandler, that we talk about in our own personal Discord. But then for Act 2 and 3, we're going to be moving on to the Strange Matter Discord voice chat. And if anyone wants to hop in, give an opinion, or talk in the chat, or just lurk, you're cool to do that. Awesome. So our first topic today is, without having to look back at the screen, but I'm going to have to because I forgot it. Is support characters. So the reason we have this topic going is because in the Discord today, there's just a lot of talk about support characters, and pretty much what it came down to is just the community. We're trying to argue different points, and some of the points being, should are supports as impactful in a game as a carry is, or a mid is, or jungle, or solo laner, and how if you're trying to move up in elo, even though Paragon didn't really have elo, it can be extremely difficult to do so if you're a support main, because you rely heavily on your teammates. Simple as that, and you can't carry your teammates to victory. So, Steve Chandler, do you guys got?
Did not hear a lot of what you said, Chandler. If you
So basically, like, I guess it's mainly about other characters can do the same job, basically.
Sort of. So, like, I play a lot in Arbash. I'm a support main myself, and so there's people arguing that we're saying they've played lots of hours and that they're also support mains back in the day in Paragon. That that if they're solo queuing and they're trying to move up from platinum to diamond or whatever, if they're playing a support character or silver to gold, doesn't really matter. If they're playing a support character, they're more likely to lose even if they play well, compared if they were playing like a mid laner, because the support cannot carry, because the support just doesn't do the damage needed to get the kills and carry.
Yeah.
So I kind of get it. I kind of understand. You know what I mean? Like as a support, it's like, even if you play perfect, even though that's impossible, you will never ever be able to, like, it's hard to 1v1 with Narbash. Like, anyone, doesn't matter who it is. So because of that, you need someone there with you. Even though you can be the initiator, you can be the tanker, you can be the healer, all of that stuff, you need someone to follow up with you, or you won't get the kill. So it's kind of like a weird way. So I was thinking about it earlier because I was really theorizing about it. And I was thinking, like, what does it mean to carry a game in Paragon via the different roles? Thank you for the follow, Narrows22. I really appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying the stream. We're going to be going for a few hours. If you want to jump in later, come on, jump in. So, as I was saying, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was thinking about what it means to carry as in each individual role in Paragon. So, and on top of that, it gets way more complex because each character is different. They have different abilities, different team comp, and different elo does different things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For example, in Smite, Loki is a fantastic character at a low elo, but is literally considered the worst character in the game at the moment in Smite at a high elo. Like, he is never, ever, ever chosen, ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you choose him at a high elo, people dodge, kind of shit. kind of
Yep.
like Iggy and Scorch back in the day in Paragon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
but Loki's an assassin, um, so I was just thinking about that, and I was thinking uh, that in my point of view, I would say there's a different form of carrying, right? So as a carry, it's pretty easy. If you're carrying, you're getting lots of kills, you're doing lots of damage. Simple as that. You know what I mean? But what does
Yeah.
it mean? And same thing with the mage, of course. And mage, it's a bit more. I wouldn't say it's a bit more difficult, but you got to be good at you got to be very good at rotating and stuff if you're a mid laner. But as support, it's really difficult to know when someone's carrying because your support can be 0 and 10. Okay, well, someone's 0 and 10, they're not carrying, but they can be 0 and 3, let's say, um, with 5 assists, and in all reality, they're quote unquote carrying because if they didn't die, the carry would have died instead. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
they gave up their life to save the carry. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's what I mean by it's a different kind of carry for support. Because the real only way to go off if a support's carrying, quote unquote, is off assists. But at the same time, you can't really. That sometimes isn't good enough because sometimes it could be that the carry or the support's trading his life so you can stay alive. Or it could
Yeah.
be something as
So
simple as he's keeping you alive so there's no assist happening. And that's what it means to carry
yeah.
as a
So
support.
basically, do supports just need more health, or do they need to deal more damage, or what makes them viable?
What makes a support viable in Paragon at least, and in Fault, because we did play Alpha 3 weekend, and you can see Sonarbach on the screen there. Uh, what? Yeah, Naros, the game comes out May 8th. Please play it. We're trying to create a 5 stack and beat everyone and never lose. And I'm being serious. Um, Anywho, so as a support, in Fault at least, what makes them carry, in my opinion, is in their rotation. So, and like Narbash is really good initiator because he has the speed boost, he has his thunk, he has his alt, which is a slow and a knock up, and
Yeah.
he has his heal. So if I was Narbash, I think it's really big to be the initiator. But what does it mean to initiate as Narbash if you don't got a mid laner or a mage behind you? Or a mid laner or carry behind you? Like, you won't get the kill. It just won't happen.
No.
So
Exactly.
that's what I think it means to be like a support, a, to be carrying as a support in Fault. Do you got any more ideas?
I mean, that makes sense. It's more so about like it's like background work rather than actual like getting any of the glory. So as
Mm-hmm.
long as that can be taken in consideration and you're not getting like penalized basically for being more of a support role rather than just attacking.
Yeah, and I also think, I personally think supports win games. Like, and like I know that might sound foolish, but because think about it, like you can have someone that can take your damage, initiate every time without ever being really in any threat to die when he initiates.
Yeah, yeah,
He has a healing ability if you're Narbash. He has like a block ability if you're Steel. Like they have the potential to be a healer, a tank, a stunner, all of that stuff. You know what I mean? And but I can see, so like when I first started playing Paragon and I didn't understand the game, you basically just get stuck in silver. You
yeah,
get put in the pits of silver, and if I was solo queuing as a support, well, okay, come on, like it's a swing and a miss if the people are going to do good or not. You know what I mean? And it's no
yep,
offense to any silver player. You know, we were all there once, or we still are, and that's just the reality of it. Is you got a bit of learning to do if you're there. You're lacking a bit of experience, and so at silver, obviously, like in my opinion, it's a struggle. If you want to carry the game, you should probably play anything else but that. However, when you get to like the platinum level and above, so and I remember this happening. I was playing. This is when I was maining Narbash and Paragon, and I finally made it to the platinum for the first time, and I was playing Narbash every game, and I was lucky enough to get support every game. And I went on something like a 12 win streak, and it literally brought me all the way to Diamond, and I was solo queuing at the time. And why that happened is because I had teammates, even though I didn't know who they were, I had teammates that I could trust, and they elevated my gameplay as well as I elevated theirs. And I got a few, and I just remember, you want to, I like gassing myself a little bit. So I remember, in the chat, people being like, yeah, it's a good Narbash, blah, blah, blah. But then I ended up playing with Steve another time, and the same thing happened, except I was being like his pocket support because he was playing carry as Seraph
Yeah.
at the time. And we won like
Yeah.
9 games in a row. Uh, yeah, I'm never going to forget that night. That was an awesome night. Vibes were swinging. So
I was ethereal that night. It was weird.
it was awesome. So
I can barely hear you there, Steve.
Hello.
now you sound much better. You sound much better pretty fast.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So what does it mean to be a support, in my opinion, without going into too, because there's obviously lots of complexities, everything. To try to put it bare bones, basic. The biggest thing I think a support does, and going forward in Fault, without getting any too complex, is the support makes his team better at the expense of maybe making himself look worse. That probably shouldn't happen, but it does happen at times.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it means to be a support is you make your team better. It's not about making yourself better. Like if you're the carry, you want to make yourself as good as possible. But if you're the support, it's all about doing that. And I really think support's super complex because once you start getting up there and you start getting really good experience with a support, uh, this pocket carry thing doesn't. It's a no go. Like you obviously take care of the carry more than anyone else, but you
Yeah.
have to also take care of your other lanes. The only
Oh,
one that
exactly.
doesn't really get taken care of very often is the off laner because he's the off laner. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But like you and the jungler gotta be in super good communication. You have to be rotating. You guys got to be there for the defensive ganks and for the offensive ganks. I just think it's really important uh, doing that, and that's why I love support because not all heroes wear capes.
Yo, I got an idea, something that I've always thought about when it comes to supports.
Okay.
So let's say the best for their team, not looking at, the scores of any other player or actually haven't seen the gameplay. In your opinion, which support probably did better? The support with a lot of deaths, but also a lot of assists, or the support that has next to no deaths, but like probably no assists?
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you sort of see what I mean by asking that.
And of
Like
course,
what?
and of course, the answer is more deaths, more assists, right? If we're going off statistics there,
Oh yeah,
yeah. The person with oh, but I just came up with an
because
argument why that's wrong. Okay, see, keep going, sir. I cut you off.
well, like because something I just always think about is what because if you think of it like this, right? The support that has the large amount of assists and a large amount of deaths, obviously there's that concept of sacrificing yourself so that the carry doesn't get killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you can start going into the idea, okay, but what about the fact that the other support didn't die a lot, so there's even less feeding going on? Um, you know what I mean? And maybe it's also an example of maybe their build wasn't very good, maybe they're out of place in team fights. It's okay to get those supports, but is the sign of a good support someone that's getting a lot of assists or someone that isn't dying a lot? Like, you sort of understand what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because hypothetically, the support that didn't get a lot of deaths, maybe what ended up happening was they weren't putting in the build, they're not farming.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they didn't feed themselves. So, like, I guess to you guys, what do you like to see in a support? Someone that is part of the fights a lot, and although they die maybe a lot, they're also there helping to secure kills, or a support that stays the fuck out of the way. And you know,
I guess the biggest thing is just like no matter what, like I understand somewhat with the role of support, like you are kind of sacrificing yourself, keeping your carry alive, but at the same time, like any goal in any lane is not dying. So, I mean, obviously, if you're looking at elo and whatnot, and just like ranking up, like you're not going to have a lot of kills, but you should have a lot of assists and not a lot of deaths. Like, I don't really like should be able to have enough game sense to know that, like, hey, we should back off now, or like we shouldn't poke, try our best, and then maybe die and just trade. There's sort of that fine line between using yourself as just like essentially just giving the other team gold, or just making sure you both stay alive and just like tank your builds with not a lot of damage
Mhm.
if you're going to play that aggressive, I guess, as a support.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it all depends on the thing, and like that's why it's so hard to pinpoint the support, because if you look at your scoreboard and look off the statistics, it's obvious to see for the most part if every other hero is doing good, but the support, it's not that easy to pinpoint. Like it really is just off like what happens in the game and the gameplay, because to say
So
because when Steve brought up that point, like you can argue both ways, uh, what is better depending on the situation in the game itself. So it's unique every game.
mhm.
And another way I looked at it, and this is, I remember seeing this because I have a Call of Duty background, and I remember seeing a professional pro, and at the time he had the most championships of all time or whatever when he said this. And he said, I would rather see my teammate go 35 kills and 30 deaths than see him go 30 kills and 10 deaths. And what does that mean? Life, but because of that, they won the game that much quicker than they would have without it. Because everyone's played a game where for some reason someone's 10 and 0 or 8 and 0 or whatever, and then but they're still losing. Like why are you losing the game if someone on your team's 8 and 0? Obviously you can say some people might just be playing bad, but there's also the point that
They're not there for
sometimes
the fight.
sometimes it could just be that they're just not there. They're just doing what they see is fit for their character, but not what is best for the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So on that note, I just wanted to go over. Now, I'm going to say this now. There's a few things I forgot to mention. Number one, we're not affiliated with Stranger Matter Studios whatsoever. We are not developers. We are not testers. We are just consumers, like the majority of yourselves. And we're here to try to bring in the community and talk about a few topics that we have from our point of view. Simple as that. And then I wanted to go over what do you think, Steven Chandler? What do you think is the bare bones thing that each role has to do? So, guys, just remember it's been 2 years, 2.5 years, or whatever now since we played Paragon. But when you think of Paragon, what do you think it means to be a jungler, support, carry, offlaner, mid lane? And we've kind of already touched on support, so let's move on to carry.
Okay. Well, I've always pictured the carry as like, the main damage dealer, the one that is able to deal. They should be able to, when it comes down to a fight of basic attacks, when you're popping off abilities, that kind of stuff, they should be dealing more damage than the mid laner. They should be dealing more damage than the jungle. They should be dealing more damage than the off laner. It doesn't necessarily mean that like there's a difference between damage and strength, I would say. Like
Hmm.
obviously the mid laner I feel like is going to be a bit more versatile. The off laner probably be a bit tankier. The jungle probably isn't out of position. They should be able to overpower every other enemy on the enemy team other than like the opposite carry. But like obviously you want to be ahead of the other carry, but it's one of those things where the only one that should be rivaling your power is the enemy carry, and the carry should be the one dealing the most damage to Prime. It should be dealing the most damage
Hmm.
to Raptors and all that kind of stuff. It should be you're scared to see that character on the field, and if you're not, then I feel like you're kind of failing as a carry.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's what I always think about when it comes to a carry and what the support should be doing. The carry should always be able to overpower the jungle, I think, if they're playing smart.
What do you think, Chandler? Do you have anything to add about the carry role?
Yeah, I mean, it's always like just because with the MOBA, I mean, that's the beauty of it. Like, it doesn't matter what role you're in. There's so many ways to build it. But like, I don't know. I always just like as an ADC, I always found it most fun, like almost playing that glass cannon, just
Hmm.
being able to deal immense amounts of damage because you know you have a support there to either like boost up your health or your movement speed or whatever to just get the fuck out of there.
Hmm. I actually think, I think you guys are right. Uh, I think when it comes to carry, you just have to go like straight off, just go off its name. If the position is called carry because they literally have the potential to carry you to victory. It's as simple. It's like it's just as simple as that. There's no such thing in Paragon, at least. There's no such thing as a carry with health. I mean, you could build it, but it's not exactly optimal. So as long as your team around you is essentially keeping you alive and you're hitting your shots and you're fed properly, the carry should be able to win you the game, as long as they're there and doing what they need to do, which is hitting shots, rotating when they need to rotate to be in team fights, and making sure that they get ahead before above everyone else. Like the carry should be getting everything, not always, but for the most part, to make it kind of a bit more basic. And for everyone watching, if you agree with us, disagree with us, think we're fucking stupid, let us know. Just say something in the chat. Uh, we'll be happy to answer all
Maybe
all
there's something we
opinions.
missed or something that, yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
So let's move on to the mid laner. What do you think about the mid laner?
Chan, I'll let you go first since I.
Well, it's really just about working those towers and kind of having your lane under control. Like most times, like these aren't the most overpowered characters, but like it's really with working with your jungle and at any time when you're actually killing the person in your lane, it's because you have a proper rotate from your jungle,
Mhm.
but not running in and just completely feeding the other team. So it's an interesting role because again, you always have to think that at any time, either right or left lane could be rotating in onto you. So it's super easy to overextend, and I don't know. I always found like just playing that role, it's a little more exciting and keeps you in the game a bit more because you have to pay attention to everything around you.
Mhm.
So it's definitely a good role for like micromanaging.
Mhm. Yeah, I always think of it as with mid laner. Uh, it's always super exciting to be a mid laner because you're the easiest to gank. Overextending, you have to push 2 feet past the middle lane, past the river, and you're considered overextending. You're the first person that's able to rotate when there's a fight, but you're also the first person to be able to get a tower usually, or lose your tower, depending on the situation. So, and there's a saying out there. I don't exactly know what it is. I'm gonna butcher it, but the mid laner is considered like the second carry of the team. So as long as, because if the carry is doing basic damage more so, unless we're getting into hybrid carries, but that's a different concept entirely. The mid laner is the ability damage of the team usually, like for the most part. So they have what it means to be a mid laner is to always be there with the team, like more so than anything else. I think the mid laner like has to be there to be a part of the damage because usually the mid laner is the one that has a huge AoE or has a crazy stun sometimes or whatever it may be. Um, and don't worry about your tier one tower. Just forget about it. Like obviously you don't want to lose it, but like if you push your minions up, rotate, uh, and you get a two piece in the right lane, but you lose your tier one middle tower. I personally think the two piece on the right is usually a lot better, especially in the laning phase.
Yeah, and like you said before, like once their mid's going that 2 feet past their own side of the river, I mean, they're overextending too. So
Hmm.
losing your first one doesn't really matter because they're not too far into your territory. But it's definitely that second tower is way more important for mid lane because again, you get people coming in there. It's way easier for either lane or your jungle to just come and destroy that person.
What do you think, Steve?
I always like to think that the mid laner is like they're like that shifty friend that you had back in your hometown that like knew where all the best shit was. Like they're the enabler of the team. I always like to think like they're the one that that always locks shit down. Like in my opinion, the best mid laners are always the ones like think about Gideon. Why is he so great? He can deal damage from far away, and then his ult holds people in place. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
like he's not quite as strong as the carry, but he's really good for setting up kills. Like you think of Bellica with her knock up, her lane control, um, all that kind of stuff. They enable kills. I find, they're a caster. They focus on their abilities, and they're really helpful and good for setting up other people getting.
Means, but I just think it's so unique, and you just have so many decisions you can make at all times, and yeah, it's just awesome. So let's move on to the off lane. Now, I guess I'll start this time. So when I think of off lane, what does it mean to be an off lane? Usually it means you're a tank. Doesn't always mean you're a tank. You can obviously play other characters if you're skilled enough with them in the off lane. Like there's was a time in Paragon where there was a lot of Revenant in the off lane, and for the testers, if you watch any of the tester games, full, they've been playing some carries in the off lane as well. But what does it mean to be an off lane? It means that it's a character that has to be good at 1v1ing and good at boxing is what they call it. So usually, to be able to and so forth. So what does it mean to be an offlaner? It means to do that side stuff that the team like needs done, but um, it may. I don't want to say it's not the priority, but it may be second to a team fight. If example, because for example, it can be a big deal if there's a team fight in the right lane, but the left lane is still pushing. The off lane is still pushing because they might end up getting that tier 2 tower. You know what I mean? So what is it? So now because there's that complexity, let's say someone from the team fighting right now goes over to stop the off lane. Well, now there's one less person in the team fight, and then they can rotate, and anyway, it just gets really complex.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I I've always thought of the off lane as needing to be one of the most self-sustaining characters because you're over there by yourself because they need to have the ability to stay alive and deal damage but not necessarily get kills. It's
Hmm.
one of those things where I've always felt that you need to be almost like a frontline fighter for your team
Hmm.
when maybe like the carry needs help or needs, like a little break from the fight and the off lane has enough health and defense, but it's nothing super duper crazy. Obviously, you probably want to either build off lane super tanky or lots of health, but it's one of those things where they're, yeah, taking that back, a very self sustaining character that can defend themselves. I like when you brought up that they were a boxer because I would play Crunch in the off lane. And I think that was always like a thing that I thought about. It's like a person that can do really good one-on-one fights has a good versatile kit, but it's not specifically crucial that they're in the fight to secure kills. It's kind of like a big brother role. It's like there to be like protecting and helping and just being a body that
Yeah.
shouldn't be needing a lot of help and support, save for like the odd gank or two. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah, and that solo lane's always the side with Prime as well, so you really engage in that a lot.
Yes. Yeah, they're always on the prime side, which is really cool. Which makes sense though, because remember how like in Monolith, um, yeah, remember how in Monolith and Paragon, how like the Raptor Pit used to be like in the middle right, but then the carry and support would go right lane, and then the other carry and support go left lane, and then you face the off laner. Okay, there's many reasons wrong with that because number one, if you're the care and support on the opposite side of the map, just to get a raptor, which they're pretty much there for the carry in the beginning of the game usually, they have to rotate the whole other side of the map, which means the whole team's gonna have to rotate to the other side of the map because it's so far away.
Yeah, and
Uh,
most times the jungler would just end up taking those instances rather than the ADC, which should be taking it.
yeah, exactly, and it's just and we're not saying the ADC they're supposed to go to ADC, but primarily, usually, in a perfect game they do, right? But there was a lot of that issue where they weren't to where. So then, if you were on the side that didn't have the Raptor side on your side of the map, you were immediately at a disadvantage, and that was one thing that actually Monolith brought a big. Monolith had a big issue because of that 2v1 idea that they had um, because of the verticality of the map. And also, there's also, if we get just a bit more into it, 2v1ing as an offlaner is not fun. You're against people that know what they're doing. You're probably losing that tier 1 tower. Always. Not necessarily, but always. And sometimes that tier 1 tower could be the difference between knowing if you're ahead or not ahead so early in the game. Like, we're talking like first 5 minutes. And I don't know. I know Steve has talked about this before. So, Steve, would you be able to elaborate on that?
Like elaborate on.
What it means to be the offlaner in a 1v2 and trying not to lose your tower, and how it affects the
um,
actual game.
Here's the thing. I actually always kind of enjoyed the feeling of being a 2v1. I know that's not a super popular opinion, but I kind of liked it for other reasons. Um, I think it fit into my at the time of playing Paragon a lot. It fit into my cynical mind of like I'm going to lose this tower. I'm probably going to get my shit wrecked, but I'm also probably going to try and get that carry a few times. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
it was that feeling of like this tower is probably going to inevitably fall. And I think it was that feeling of when you could say 20 minutes in that tower is still standing but with barely any health. That was an accomplishment. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
defended that fucking tower, you intimidated them off of it. They never got far in. You know what I mean? Like I always found it an extremely satisfying role to play, but I think it was more so just because like if the tower fell, if I was getting shit on a lot, it was like, well, there's two of them.
Yeah.
uh,
I got my reasons why I lost my tower. It's a 2v1, man. Uh yeah.
yeah, I definitely think that it's just a different type of game. I think honestly, Fault moving back towards the 2v2 and the 1v1, I think that'll be better from a competitive standpoint and from retaining other players.
Mhm.
But I'll always probably remember the 2v1 at least kind of fondly. I don't
Yeah.
know, just my opinion.
Oh yeah, we all have those times where it's just like, huh, I'm 1v2ing and I'm winning. Well, would you look at that? I must be nasty. I must be
You
fantastic.
get extra bragging rights
Yeah.
when like 8. You're like, hell yeah.
Okay, so let's move on with the jungle. Steve, you can start here.
All right, serious dude. He's got to be rolling up with the big boy pants, full assassin mode, ready to plant little C4 on your brain and make it go boom. It's got to be someone that rotates well because that is something that I always hear about. Me personally, whenever I jungle, I got my flings going on. I give equal love to each lane because you got to. But that's always the biggest thing is people aren't checking out the off lane. They aren't checking out the carry and support and the mid lane all equally, and then you can start getting like bitterness from your teammates. Maybe you're not getting enough. Maybe someone just like super over pushing off lane, but because you're so worried about getting your camps and trying to get the carry, you're not getting those easy kills.
Hmm.
And I mean, sometimes, like I said in past Faultarian journals, it's all about time. And if you are, as the jungle, that assassin character that has such a foreboding presence, he could pop out of nowhere. As long as you're maintaining that feeling of chaos and anarchy, no other character really on the team does that. You kind of know, oh yeah, the character's gonna push my shit in. The mid lane's gonna, CC me, all that kind of stuff. But the jungle is one of those characters that is supposed to sort of exist as the revenant of your team. It's like a ghost that is there to get those kills, to get that extra experience to help push your team along. Um, I've always bounced around in my head. I'm inclined to always say the bad thing. I feel like majority of the kills should be between the carry and the jungle, but also at the same time, I know it is a bit of a bad habit for junglers to get kill hungry, and then the because the ADC is usually a long range character, you kind of run into problems if you can't even like walk up to them, like Murdoch taking 300 damage, per shot, and you're like, well, I died because I looked at him. Great. So I feel like jungle, in my opinion, is one of the most complex roles to play in a MOBA, but at the exact same time, it's also one of the most straightforward. It's hard to explain, but the idea of get big and eat is the easy way to say it, and then the long way to say it is you need to control this map. You know what I mean? Before your team enters the mid game, and especially before they enter the lane game, it's your duty to be controlling your jungle and doing your best to control the lanes and make sure that no one's stepping out of line, no one's over pushing. And when they do over push, you better fucking hope that you don't miss your right crunch and then your left crunch and then you just crunch them to death. You know what I mean? Uh, that's how I feel about the jungle.
What do you think, Chandler?
Well, I mean, like, so it really comes down to just kind of knowing your paper route. Like, you got to know where to go and decide and how you want to rotate around your jungle, and then if you want to go into their jungle, or if you want to gank, or like, it's very situational. But you need to be like, you can't just get so caught up in trying to kill the enemy team's mid and now their jungle rotated in and killed your mid, and now you're behind because you decided to get greedy. It's really kind of like sticking to a path early game and understanding that like you have a role to play so that you can be viable and one of those big things that helps win team fights towards the end of it,
Mhm. One
in my
thing,
opinion.
one thing I love about what it means to be a jungler is I just find it really cool that the jungler gets to essentially decide the pace that the game is going to go at. Is a jungler going to hit you with the steezy early gank under 5 minutes? Is he going to just farm a bit because his name's Sevarog? Is he going to try to rotate into enemy's jungler? What's going to happen? You know what I mean? And I really think that's cool because as the jungler, if anyone is this, the jungler is the in-game leader. They're the ones that are calling the shots of what's going to happen, of what he's going to do. Because as a support main, I can tell you, once we start like if we end up being the ones that have to OE in lane, I can tell you I got one eye on the mini map at all times because I got that ward there and one eye on the carry, seeing what's going on. Like I'm always there. Like, are we gonna get ganked? Are we okay pushing up? What's going on? Are we good? Are we good? I don't know. You know what I mean? Uh, yeah, I just really think jungler is so unique, and it goes everywhere from as simple as you grab your minions, you do a gank, you hope it works, yada yada yada. You go back, grab your minions, do a gank, you do your. Or it can be as complex as okay. So since I know I'm starting on the strong side and the enemy jungler starting on the strong side, that means I can rotate over when they get to the weak side, and if I want, I can dodge my weak side and then go in and steal a jungle camp from them. Okay. Well, it doesn't exactly have to be like that, but that's just one scenario, of course. Yeah, That's what I really like about jungler. And Steve here was a crunch main, so he played a lot of jungle, and it was really cool to see the crunch come in, do a double dash, even though he's like 9 miles away, and you're thinking, no, 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 there's no way he's coming in and initiating and doing this gank. Oh no, he is. Hits him with the uppercut, and then right after that, the steezy thunk comes in. The second the uppercut animation ends, and like whoever is there, they're just like, well, fuck, that's it for
Cody's just
me.
like filling them with bullets. Like,
Yeah, Krepton just there, just hit. We're just saying, hit your basics, man. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
man. It was funny when you were saying earlier, like of everything a carry has to do, and like, are you this? Are you that? And I was say like, or are you a big green robot that no one has any faith in, and you're constantly having to prove yourself? You know what I mean?
You know what though, Steve?
I
After
relate
we
to that.
stopped playing, and this is one thing, okay. So us three, really stopped playing after version 42. Like I really played very, very little after that. And like once version 44 came out, like I did not play. I just didn't play the game. Um, and apparently Crunch by the end of the by version 44, he was fucking fantastic. He was apparently like a very
That's
good.
heartbreaking because I did not know that.
You didn't play then.
Ugh.
Yeah, could you imagine? Like everyone's like, "Yeah, choose Crunch." To where when we were playing, people were dodging because you would choose Crunch.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
could have been styling people be like, "Oh fuck, he got the master skins." Like, yeah, I I got the Crunch master skin. That is, I actually have that on my resume, man. Like, that's how happy and proud I am of that because I put in so much time getting that master skin.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I think I had that, and I had Sereth master skin.
Yeah, you
I
did.
had those were the two master skins I had.
Yeah. I had Narbash, Decker, and I think I also had like some weird, like I had Sparrow, I think also.
Did you
And
have any Chandler? No, it's completely off topic, but I just can't remember if Chandler ever had any.
Chandler, do you ever get a Master Skin?
Nope, nope. I never played the game enough for that.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Chandler was busy kissing girls and, you know, making money
Having, yeah,
instead
tour.
of playing video games all the time.
But that's all right. For anyone that doesn't know, that is here listening and watching, so apparently, well, we can't confirm or deny this, but we did get a bit of information from someone internally from Strange Matter that apparently the animations for some of the heroes are a bit scuffed. And those heroes are Wukong, Revenant, and Crunch. What does it mean by scuffed? It means that either the animations don't work properly in the assets, or for some reason, even though they work properly, they're not saving or they're just being weird. I don't quite understand. So we were talking about Crunch last Faultarian journal, uh, and then we got that information that Crunch is probably going to be one of the last characters in Fault, unfortunately. So for all you Crunch mains out there, that's pretty heartbreaking. Wukong can be the last. Well, okay, before Morgesh, but second last.
Why
Um,
couldn't it have been Moragesh's animations that were all messed up? Like, I don't have
dude,
to be Crunch, dude.
yeah, yeah,
You
I
got
know.
an F in the chat
Um,
from a man Crunch,
so
man.
we had this guy named Kenny who's been coming into the stream a lot. He's been pretty fantastic actually. Uh, and we just got him to show us like the crunch animations in Unreal Engine, and they worked fine. So I was going on like, wait a minute, like they wouldn't just tell us this and just bullshit us, of course. So for anyone that may have done that just for a little bit, it's not that Strange Matter was lying or this. He implement all the animations, so they basically have to create crunch from scratch every time they do a new update because for some reason they're scuffed. I'm not a game developer or programmer, so I couldn't tell you exactly what the logistics are, but I do know that kind of sucks. So yeah, so if you liked Wukong or Crunch or Revenant, man, I love Revenant. Revenant's my logo. Like, I loved Revenant. Even though I'm a support main, like that guy's so cool. Anywho, that's beside the point. Uh, yeah. So I guess that's the end of topic number one of Act One. So we're gonna move on And the next topic